All right. The music means one thing. That means it's time again for a TID's kick in the head. And this one has been a long time coming. We've been talking back and forth. Are we going to do this? We're not going to do this. We've known each other for Jesus. Since Christ was a corporal. It's been a minute and a half. And for those of you that don't know, this is a guy. I'm talking about Moondog Manson, a guy from out in the west coast of Canada who is probably listen, you don't get a name like Moondog and Manson without being involved in some of the most crazy hardcore shit ever to come out of Canada. And this guy has seen it, done it, been down the road before with myself and a bunch of other people even. And we're going to try to see how all of that worked out. It's good to have you on the show, brother. How have you been, man?
I've been doing absolutely fabulous, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. You look fantastic. I mean, you look like you lost half of yourself. What happened?
Well, you know what? Honest to God, I kind of figured out somewhere along in the process that being fat was a scam. It took me about 44 years, right? But like the thing is, I was honestly having health problems. Like you can't be overweight all your life and like just not. And I was missing all the signs, like, neuropathy in the feet, you just things start slowly burning more and more, and you get aches and pains. You just can't get out of bed as quickly as you can, and blowing up, going upstairs. And yes, I just had enough. And I had an opportunity with my old boss at my previous job, SVN Canada. He bet me $5,000 that I couldn't lose. I couldn't get down to 300 pounds by my birthday. And I was like sitting at 372. And I'm just like, I had 7 months to do it. I'm thinking, I got to be able to do that. And that's 5K. Like that's pretty much an easy bet for me. Right. So that's what I did is I just focused on it and I pulled it off.
That was the most one of the boys things you could do. My payout.
Yeah.
I get a $5,000 payout at the end of this. Okay.
Totally. Yeah. And the guy's old school, right? Like he's a newfie, right? So he's doing things old school way, right? He's incentivizing me. He's good. It was awesome working relationship.
Amazing. Now, I know for a lot of people that don't know, you had a situation even before like all of the weight loss stuff with your shins.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about all of that stuff, man.
So, I don't know, was it back in 2004, I think it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, about there. So, like, the thing is, I was kind of, I guess I was in. I hadn't been really in the gym in a while, but I was running my own shows. I was doing that Pro Wrestling Canada show, and I wanted to make sure I was in ring shape. So I was taking these pills that I think Mark McGuire was hitting them on. They were like M1Ts or something, and everything I read they were safe and legal. And so I thought, I never done steroids in my life, and I just thought these pills seem they're not that big of a deal. So I thought I'd just kind of take some, right? And, I was like, I thought I'd just light a fire under my butt and then I'd get off them and I just started doing my old powerlifting I would typically do, just be myself. But, I don't know what kind of happened with them, but I kind of gained like 15 pounds of muscle in a week. and I got really messed up. It's like I got compartment syndrome on both my legs. And, it was like it just completely changed my life. Like it left me disabled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did they have to go in and do surgery, or did they have to was it like you just had to cut everything off? How did the process coming out of it go?
Well, like the typical Canadian healthcare system was a bit of a rib.
Right.
So I go in, and like I was in actually pretty bad shape. So what happened was earlier in the day, I was doing a security job at a Kabaddi tournament in Surrey. And basically what happened was I started walking across the field in my steel toe boots, and it's like all of a sudden it's like my shin splints like kicked in like super bad, and I couldn't figure out what it was, and it was just like I just had to go sit down in a vehicle. So I had my boots off and I was resting for like a half hour, and I went to go put my boots back on, and like I couldn't even get my boots on. It was like there was something wrong with my feet. So I got them to drive me to the hospital right away, and it was like 4 days, like being in there 6 hours at a time and different doctors doing different things. And anyways, they had me on antibiotics thinking it was like some sort of soft tissue virus, like flesh eating or something. And I was coming in, and it was getting worse by the day. I was like getting to the point where the only reason I was falling asleep is because I was passing out because I'd been awake for so long.
Right.
And then I'm back around the corner. The doctor, the fourth day, I hear him like saying to the nurse, like, I'm getting tired of these fucking other doctors prescribing all these antibiotics. I'm getting to the bottom of everything, right? And like he went and got a specialist. I don't guess from the leg department. So I'm going to take a look at me. And like within like 30 seconds, she said, "I don't know how you did it, but you got compartment syndrome in both legs." And she got a consult from her coworker. And he agreed. And they basically prepped me for surgery. And I was in surgery like an hour later. Both doctors were basically slicing open a leg each, kind of cut the sheath around the muscle to let my shin muscles expand so they could breathe again.
Right.
And yeah, so it was like brutal, right? And I woke up in the recovery room, and nothing was that big of a deal at that point. My legs were wrapped with gauze, and I didn't see anything. It wasn't honestly, I wasn't in that bad of pain at that point because the sheath had been cut open, so it was expanding. And then 4 days later, I was supposed to go on and get my legs skin graft shut because they were still swollen. And I wasn't looking forward to that, right? So I'm like, I'm praying. It's like, I hope they don't got to do that. I hope they can just like stitch them up or staple them or something. And like the unfortunate thing is, I got my wish, but it turned out to be way worse than what I would have planned on. They pretty much went in and they realized that all the muscles had died in both legs, and they had to amputate them. I had no idea what was coming out of the surgery, like with amputated shin muscles. And I woke up in the recovery room, and I'm like a full blown panic attack. It's just I feel like something's wrong. I have no idea what's on go. I'm just begging the guy take me back to the room that I was sleeping in because it's the only place I felt safe. And then that's like the whole ordeal right there. It's like that's how I ended up being completely disabled. I got no shin muscle now.
Wow, that's crazy. So like, I don't know if well, you do. 2007 is when I
Yeah,
had my accident, and I had it was probably about 5,000 pounds. It was three 20-foot lengths of 6x6 by half-inch thick steel angle come
yeah,
off of the back of the truck and come down, hit me in the chest, come down on my leg. And when it did, broken tibia fibula in my left leg, and that front shin muscle, bloop, plops
yeah.
out onto the ground, basically, right?
Oh,
And so my knee is pointing this way. I can see the bottom of my foot. I go in for surgery. They get it closed up after 3 surgeries. It's
wow.
3 surgeries just to close the front of the leg up because, well, I mean, we don't have small fucking calves and legs and stuff
No,
like that, right? So trying to fit that in there, and they literally, there's no sheath or anything like that. They literally just kind of shoved the muscle back into the space. And, now I got one leg that's like bigger than the other, it looks like. And
yeah,
you have problems. A year later, I had to get the rod taken out of it. I ended up with staph in my knee after that like just blew apart my shower one morning. You know what I
wow.
mean? Because it
Oh,
just
wow.
exploded on me, So like, did you have to deal with any, like, was the healing process decent? Because I remember one of the worst feelings in the fucking world was being laid up in that bed for, those days that I was. And then that first time you stand up because your leg's been elevated for so long, and
Yeah.
and all the blood rushes down to the leg, and you're like, okay, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. This is fucking awful. Right?
Yeah, like the first time I can't remember how long I was on my back for before they tried to get me up, but I think I was probably on my back for at least a week.
Yeah.
Um, and then basically they had to bring in a special hospital bed that they never used before. It was kind of like an air bed, but you could actually bend it so that actually you could sit up in it and get off the front of the bed. And like they literally had to train me how to use it because none of the nurses in the hospital knew how to use it. So I had to know how to use it to actually teach all the nurses to use it for me, right? And like the first time they tried to get me out of the bed, like I was 320 pounds, and I was like, I think I almost took 2 of the nurses down. Like I wasn't ready to stand at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, but then like once they got me standing, it was a bit of a process because like I lost the muscles, right? So what happened is every time I sat up anywhere, my body was trying to process, I guess, like to the nerve endings and they just weren't there anymore. So like my body was short circuiting. I'm like I'm shaking like for like 15 minutes straight after I'm trying to just sit up, right, and sit in a chair for like a half hour. Anyway, and it was brutal. But then when they started doing the exercises, I was kind of like, I fucked myself up. I can't let this stop me. So like every time they asked me to do 4 steps, I did 8. and I was like pushing hard, and they were literally telling me I was going to go to GF Strong and like, basically in a wheelchair. I was going to be in the hospital for 2 months and then go to GF Strong and recover there for however long I needed. And I didn't want to do it. I was kind of like, what the fuck? It's like, I'm a tough guy. Like, I got to be able to get past this without, being like stuck in the system. And it's just, I somehow managed to get them to release me home after 3 weeks. Like, I just forced it so much. Like, I wouldn't let it, they were forcing me to use the wheelchair at the hospital. I was trying to walk around on crutches. I was doing everything. Plus I had that show I was aiming for, right? Once I got out of the hospital, I had 6 weeks to get ready for the show.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
And I barely recovered. Yeah.
I think this is a perfect example of the power of mental healing that comes, I'll say it comes from being in the wrestling business for as long as you've been in the business. So, because, think about how long you've been in there, the stuff you've been through, the matches you've been through, and then you've got to get up and do it the next day. Nobody's forcing you to do that but yourself, right? So it's all mental stuff. So like I know exactly what you're saying, and a lot of the boys that are going to be watching this are going to know what you're saying too, because the same thing happened for me. That I was a year after with my leg injury. It was a year, and I had to get the rod out because I was having problems. And so I go to the doctor's appointment, that 1 year thing, and I'm like, listen, doc, we got to get this rod out of this thing. It's bugging me. And she's like, okay, and we're doing this stuff. She goes, oh, how you been? How's walking going? Are you back to work yet? And I'm like, doc, I got back in the ring. Like, I went back to work after 8.5 weeks, and I was wrestling again in 6 months. Like, I started wrestling 6 months ago, doc. I'm here to get this out so I can, like, I got work to do. I got things to do. You know what I mean? So like, it's crazy. So you owe all of that, I believe, to the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. The wrestling business toughened me up. It definitely did, man. And when I got into the wrestling business, I was a shy, fat kid. Why
did you get in? I know why I got into it, and I know why a lot of people, but why did you get into the wrestling business?
You know what? To be honest, I got bullied most of my life, and growing up, being bullied, I was looking up to people like Mr. T in the A-Team, right? I was looking up to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. He was he's the best wrestler in the world when I was a kid, right? And the thing is, I looked at those guys and I was like, always daydreaming, right? It was daydreaming about being big and tough and being able to be strong. And I've been really lucky most of my life because the guys have been trying to fight me for years, and I've been lucky like all through my schooling. Every fight I got into, I'm pretty sure I won them all. Usually the quick punch to the nose. But no, guys bullied me, and I had no idea why most of my life. I know now why, because I'm kind of like the neurodivergent thing going on. I've got autism, ADHD, and I'm weird. But I'm like super smart too, right? So I just don't connect with kids my age. It's like older people call me an old soul, right? But it's just what it is. I'm just a quirky dude, and I got a lot of knowledge rammed in my head, and I just don't fit in with like normal people. So I got bullied over it all the time, and I couldn't really make friends. But yeah, that's my whole thing. So when I got into the wrestling business, because it was my dream. That's all I ever wanted to do. Like, when I went to the guidance counselor at school, they asked me what I wanted to do. I want to play professional football or be a professional wrestler. So, and that's what I did. I got into professional wrestling.
Do you remember the first time you rolled into the ring still?
Yeah. It was in a dumpy backyard in Surrey, British Columbia. Yeah. Yeah, like there was like a new bug every Saturday, an unidentified bug I'd never seen before. It was classy. Sometimes there was dog shit on the ground. Yeah, Terry Joe Silverspoon's backyard. He was like the troll promoter he was a classic.
Dude, was the ring at least any good, or was it like just like wood posts with garden hose?
The rib it was the ECCW show ring.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So they would put it up in the backyard and do training in it, and then they would take it down and take it to the show. So it was like a real ring, right? Yeah, there was like real wrestlers in there all the time, right? Like, I mean, like even Velvet McIntyre visited the backyard one time and gave us a few, actually, it was a couple times, gave us some lessons in that, right? So there was like real wrestlers popping in through the backyard, right? Like Matt Bourne was staying in the trailer there on that property when he was in town, and but it was actually kind of a great environment to learn it, right?
Talk to me. Was that the first place that you met Matt?
No, you know what?
I got to be honest with you right now. You kind of resemble with the weight loss now and the silver and the beard.
Yeah.
You look like Matt a little bit now, brother.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. Matt was a really big influence over me, and I can tell the story now, right? Because I was telling the boys here and there, but like I can publicly tell the story now that he's passed. But we got bonded. I don't want to say it was like father and son. I think it was more like brothers. We were just like total brothers in the business, right? He was much older than I am, but we kind of had similar backgrounds, and it's like we both had fathers, and they were honestly assholes to us, but we both knew our fathers loved us, and that was the most important thing, is we both knew our fathers loved us. So like what happened was we were in a hotel room. I think it was in Prince George. I don't know if it was probably maybe 1999, 98. But I remember Gorgeous Michelle Starr saying like, Moondog, you like to party. Like, I'm going to stick you in the hotel room with Matt Bourne tonight. And I'm just like shitting my pants. Right. I'm like a greenhorn still, and I'm in a hotel with Matt Bourne. And I'm not sure. I think we were at the bar or something, all drinking. And I was probably drinking Crown. He was probably drinking Crown. But we were back at the hotel and we're drunk. And it's like we started talking. And then all this stuff about our fathers came up. And I'm not shitting you. Both of us were crying. Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it, dude. I don't know if you saw it or not, but Dark Side of the Ring did an episode on Matt.
Yeah.
They did the Doink the Clown episode, right?
That's the only one I ever watched. I just wanted to check that one out. Yeah.
So the Doink the Clown stuff was a gentleman from Hamilton that I know, but all the older Matt, like married, dying on the gurney, raging out, lifting the car, in jail, ripping the sink out, everything like that. That was me.
Wow.
That was me. They called me up and I was, they've called me on other things too, right? They've asked me to, they wanted me to do the Johnny Canine episode as well, because Johnny was my trainer and stuff. And they wanted me to do that. They had an Undertaker one, on the couple seasons ago. They wanted me to come in and do that. I kept saying no. I'd send them people and you know what I mean? And everything worked out fine. And then they came to me with the Matt one. And I was like, oh, you fuckers. It's Matt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and if anybody who knew Matt, you were like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this one. But I gotta be honest with you. When we were doing those scenes and I'm laying there on a gurney, right? It's a weird fucking feeling when you're laying there and you're like, holy shit, I'm playing a guy I know dying right now.
Yeah.
This is fucking weird to me, man. And it fucked with my brain a little bit. And I was like, I'm not doing these things anymore. I know too many of these fucking people. You know what I mean? I'm friends with too many of these guys, and it's just not, it's weird to me, man. But it was a crazy episode though.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I think they're kind of a disservice to the situations, because it doesn't really tell the real raw emotions, right? It's it's the kind of like the hokey made for TV version of what happened, right?
Yeah.
I thought I was watching. I'm going like, fuck, this is. I should tell this story. I can fucking do it way better, right?
Well, listen, we can't all tell the stories about how we sit in front of the red parking zone at the airport and the flight doesn't leave for 3.5 hours. So, well, shit, let's just pass these 2 bottles of Crown around inside the fucking car, right?
Yeah, That's how brothers bond, is over the whiskey.
That's really an absolute truth, dude. And road time. You spend time in a hotel room with somebody that you may have just met or don't know all that well. Well, you're forced to do so. But the nice thing is you have this common bond of why you're both there. And that common bond is professional wrestling. I think what it does is it allows us to open up to one another on a more personal level when you're in there, and you find out, and this is where the stories start developing. This is where it's like, oh, okay, I can talk to you about certain things. And even though we'll talk about a couple of things, you know what I mean, on camera here, but there's always going to be stuff that it's like, nope. I will have this conversation face to face. There will be no phones around. There will be no microphones around. There will be no cameras around, because it's private. And it's that kind of privacy that I think personally, is makes the bond that you develop with the boys inside of professional wrestling
Yeah.
deeper than anything in the entire world. And you will never understand it unless you're part of it.
Yeah,
Right?
and that's the thing is I've even rode around with women before, and it's like phenomenal. It's just as good as having one of your brothers next to you, right? It's like, she's open up to you like she's your little sister or your older sister, and it's like, it's great. It's like the family a lot of us never really had.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you remember who the first influence was for you in professional wrestling?
Like when I started wrestling, or
Yeah,
like
like
before
like who is your, I hate to use the term, but you hear it so many times around. Who was your wrestling dad? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
you know what so I've done a lot of dumb shit in my years, right? And it's because gorgeous Michelle Starr trained me, and he was like my wrestling father for the longest time. And he taught me to do all the bad stuff, all the drunk dialing. I mean, we were calling Psycho Sid, ribbing him on New Year's. It was just like, it was bad, right? So I
sure.
learned all the bad stuff from him, but he was like my first influence in the business.
Yeah, and listen, but I think that was across the board. It wasn't like this is a knock on Star or anything like
Yeah,
that. This was across the board because we used to do it too. We used to
yeah,
sit there and call Shiki at 3 o'clock in the morning, just loaded out of our tree and just ribbing him over the phones, and just because we were assholes at the time,
yeah,
like just
yeah,
horrible things that you would do to one another. You know what I mean? But
yeah. So that's the thing is, Star helped me get out of my little shy fat boy phase and turn me into a big raging asshole.
well, have you found the medium by now at least?
Oh yeah, I got like 21 years of bullying before I got into the wrestling business. It kind of funneled me to teach me how to bully back. So like I'm an expert at this thing now.
You ever had that bite you in the ass really bad, like on a show or something like that? Where have you started a riot yet?
So the problem is back in the day, everybody was afraid of me for real.
Yeah, right.
So I got to behave like pretty atrociously, and like I never thought anything about it, but nobody was ever gonna stand up and say shit to me. So like it
Wild.
was pretty, yeah, it was hard to deal with for years.
The first time we met, like I don't, we hit it off fantastically right
Yeah,
out the gate. There was no, I didn't like. I looked at you like a fucking Rottweiler puppy. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like, oh my God, he looks so fucking mean and vicious and stuff like that. But nah, just have a conversation, smoke a bowl. Like I could get to know the fucking guy, right?
yeah,
Because I think I came from the same kind of thing.
yeah,
I had a lot of like, holy fuck, that's a notorious T.I.D guy. Like he'll fucking stab you, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I don't know if you remember this or not, but that first time I came out to BC to work for Star and ECCW, I wasn't supposed to work you.
yeah,
You and I weren't even supposed to touch each other in that entire leg of the tour.
yeah,
It was just us.
yeah.
It,
Then magic happened.
yeah. Because I mean, let's face and which was really weird. And like, does Juggernaut still wrestle?
He had to retire a number of years ago. His body just didn't hold up to it. Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's what happens, man. I didn't want to do the moonsaults. I tried one in practice one time, pulled it off perfectly. I just realized there was too much room for error, and I didn't want to do it because I just laid on the table and let him do it.
Right?
Yeah,
It's much easier. You want to do that? Cool, no problem. I got you,
yeah,
brother.
yeah. Didn't matter. Chain me to the table. Just whatever we need to do. Go off the top rope to the floor. Whatever, man. I don't care.
Dude, what's the craziest fucking idea that somebody has come up to you with, even for a match or even for like, a program? Because I'll tell you who it was for me, and it was fucking republic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time. So I'd like to hear yours first.
Well, you know what? So the thing is, they had me working the ladies' choice for a very long time. You know, we were married on the road. We pretty much battled all over BC, bled buckets, right? But they were kind of working on a TV show. They wanted the Insanity tapings. They were trying to pitch them, I think, get them on TSN. And the mistake Dave Republic made is he tried to recycle all the angles that they just did and try to remold them to do them again because they were like so hot angles, and he wanted a hot angle on TV, right? So they had me work Ladies' Choice again, but they stuck me under the old El Antorcha outfit, and they started calling me El Gran Fuego or something. And I was basically wrestling as a luchador, doing the same matches, and the fans all knew it was me, but it was like rinse and repeat. And it was you know, the funny thing is, even though were doing the exact same program over in the building, we actually pulled it off. The only thing that killed the tapings was they were trying to do 2 episodes per indie show, and then they turned them into like 4-hour indie shows. And like, you can't keep the fans, you know, coming and staying there for 4 hours. They're burnt out by the end of the taping, and then they kind of killed the houses. And you know, the Insanity tapings didn't take off. So that you know, cheesy idea that they gave me, you know, worked to a degree, but it just, the shows were too long, killed the show.
Well, it worked because you guys made it work. Now, was there at least like a story like, you know, Moondog Manson is not allowed in the building? He doesn't wrestle for this. Like, did they at least like give some kind of backstory so that people could be like, listen, we know it's his. You know what I mean? Like the old Long Riders story, because I ended up running one of those things where me and my tag partner, we had the tag team called the Dirty Vets. And we got, you know, we had one of these like loser has to leave crossbody pro wrestling forever. So, and we did that whole angle where we went and bought masks, but we called ourselves the Diablos Vatos, which still had TV. It was the Dirty Vets thing, and we put on masks, and my hair was still long and it was hanging out. I did one of the topless things. You could clearly tell it was us, but at least we told some kind of reason as to why it was there. Was this just
yeah, that's the thing. I totally forgot about that. That's what they did. I'm pretty sure I lost a Loser Leaves Town match to LC at some point, the Ladies' Choice. Yeah. So then they brought me back as that. You know, and it was funny because the whole time I was doing the angle, like they had me even wrestling on the island in the gimmick. But one night they had me come out just as Moondog Manson. Like it was like unannounced third partner because we were short a guy on the show. So I basically, it was a tag match, a 3-on-3, and it was me, Tony Kazina, and Adam Firestorm versus Disco Fury. I think Juggernaut, maybe. I can't remember who the other guy was. Anyways, I don't like spots. I hate it. I hate guys when they try to talk shit to me before the shows. I was even doing with the vets early on in the process. I was just going out and working matches with them.
Right.
And I just, they were like going over the finish like 5,000 fucking times. And I'm like, oh my God, can you guys just fucking figure out what the finish is and tell me what the fuck finish is? And I'm just going to go over here and be by myself. So I'm just, you know, minding my own business, and they smart me out to what the finish is. And so it's like I'm basically waiting outside the building for the finish to come in as the third man to come clear house and finish the match off and pin Disco Fury. So what goes and happens is I see the spots that are, you know, they're going into the finish, and I'm watching, and then something else happens. And I'm just like, well, that's weird. It looked like they were doing the finish, but you know, that's clearly not the finish.
Right.
And then you know, it's kind of a little weird. And then all of a sudden I see them going into the finish again, and they do the exact same thing that they weren't supposed to do. And I was like, fuck, this is not what they told me, but I guess it's the finish. So at this point I hit the ring, right? I hit the ring with my chain, and the worst part about it was my 2 tag team partners, Adam Firestorm and Tony Kazina, turned on me because apparently I fucked the finish up. So they're like shoot whipping me with my chain. Like I don't know what got into those 2 marks. They were like shoot whipping me with the chain, like Adam Firestorm, the Mormon.
Right. I was saying, like wouldn't say shit if he had a mouthful of it.
No, like they were like rabid. Like my own tag team partners were rabid, trying to beat the shit out of me with the chain. But I'm dressed as Moondog Manson, so it's like none of it really makes any sense anyways. So, but I
Right.
was actually so mad. Like, I got triggered bad, and I actually grabbed Tony Kazina. I went to go press him over my head, and throw him into the first 3 rows. And I had him up, and he grabbed on the ropes, holding on for dear life. But I was going to kill him. That fuck, I was going to throw him right in the fucking crowd and launch him. Because back in those days, man, it didn't matter. You're 200 pounds. You could sandbag me all you want. I was putting you over my head.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then we get in the dressing room, right? And all 5 guys are fucking reaming me out like the fuck, blah, 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 blah. And I go, what the fuck are you guys talking about? This is what the fucking finish was. And then they're all kind of like, stop. And they're like, oh my God, we changed the finish and forgot to tell you.
What?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding
So like
me?
like they're trying to beat me up in the ring because they fucked the finish up, and it was like the most comical thing ever, like on my part, right? But yeah, I couldn't believe it, man.
Oh man.
Little
How
Tony Kazina and Adam Firestorm, like vicious motherfuckers trying to stab me to death or something in the ring.
I could listen. I could see it from Tony. I can't see it from Adam, but
No.
how much do you miss Adam Firestorm?
Oh, you know what? I miss him a lot, and I kind of. So what happens? I think about things too much, because basically the way my brain is, got autism, ADHD, it just spins around in circles all day long, never goes quiet. So I'm thinking about him all the time, and when I say all the time, it might be randomly here, and then a couple months later something pops up. But the one thing that's always kind of bugged me is he actually called me a week before he killed himself, and he's like asking me if I oops. He was asking me if I still had a room to rent where I was living, because it was El Phantasma and I were living together at the time, right? And I go, sorry, bro, man, we just put the notice in on the place like last week. If I'd known, I wouldn't have done it. And he said, okay, man, that's all right. And then I didn't think much of it. And then like 7 days later, he's hung himself. And, it's like, I realized that if I got him to my house, I'm assuming he would have been okay.
You can only assume that, though.
Yeah.
Never ever think that it was any kind of catalyst or thought or anything like that. He could have been completely fine, and that all of that triggered a day before. You know how the brain works.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up over one incident, because you were Adam's friend for a lot longer before that, right?
Oh, bro, I got incidents to beat myself up over all the time. I actually heard this guy, this coke dealer I knew, is Crazy Steve Gilpin. It was him and his brother. They were like the tough black gangsters, right? And like it was Adrian Gilpin, his brother. Basically, one night Adrian lived in the towers close to the townhouses I lived in, and it was like 3:30 in the morning. And I hear pop, 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 and I'm just like, those are gunshots, man. And like me, like I actually want to go out and look to make sure everybody's okay.
Right.
And I didn't do it that night. And then I find out the next day, like it was my buddy Adrian got like shot in the lobby of the apartment building by like an ex-BC Lions football player, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody knew who did it, but nobody had any proof. Anyway, that BC Lions guy ended up getting charged with the murder of his ex-girlfriend too, and I think he's in jail right now.
Yeah.
But so that kind of messed me up, because like I can remember the pop noise, gunshots, like. And it was my buddy Adrian that got iced, right? And it was just so that kind of upset me too, right? But the problem is my brain never stops, so it's always just spinning, and something brings up the memory. All of a sudden, it's just I'm not beating myself up over these things anymore, but it's like it gets hard for me. It's like hard to shake these things, and it's kind of think like maybe there was something I could have done to fix it.
Yeah, listen, we all can end up in those kind of situations, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
that there's something that we can do to fix it, but clearly there's not, so you can't dwell on it. You know what I mean? We just had had a situation, and it doesn't matter if it's a bad situation or even a good situation, and death is never a good situation no matter what. But let's say they went fucking naturally. You know what I mean? You're still gonna have that one thing. Like I still have thoughts about with my own dad, to be honest with you. Dude. You know what I mean? Last time I saw my dad, this is weird. Last time I saw my dad, I was 5 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said to my mother after that, I don't ever want to see this guy again as long as I live. And he ended up dying. He ended up killing himself, drug overdose, when I was 15 years old. And I said at that point, like, what the fuck? I couldn't dwell on it, but there was always a part of me that said, fuck, what if I would have had that conversation? What if?
Yeah.
What if? It took me a lot of years to be like, doesn't matter. The what if doesn't fucking matter anymore because it's never going to happen. You just have to kind of put it out of there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's wild. It's wild stuff. I for one am very happy over the times that I did get to know Adam and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And have conversations with him. He's always a funny fucking dude, man.
Oh
Always.
yeah, man. Like I got so many stories about him. You know, like there was times we'd be on the road and we'd both be tired of kind of hanging out with the boys, so we'd go and splurge and get an extra hotel room
Right.
and just kind of stay off to the side while everybody's partying. You know, and it was great about me because I just you know, I wasn't religious, but it was kind of good to hang out with the religious guys that kept me out of trouble a little bit more.
It's a good balance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Go out
So I
and
always
public
say,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah,
And it's always better than getting stuck with Bruce.
totally. Actually, no, that's not true.
Okay.
So the thing is, Juggernaut and I, you know, the thing is, we're okay now, but we kind of didn't like each other for the most part. And it wasn't so much that I didn't like him, but he didn't like me, so I didn't like him, right?
Right.
But it was jealousy, right? There was like two fat guys that did the hardcore stuff on the show, and like, you know, like he was more, you know, he was more in tight with the office and I wasn't. But the thing is, we always worked together because we were the big guys. If we took Bruce with us, we got to share a hotel room with Bruce. We got a bed each, and then we would take the two chairs in the room and shuffle them together and stuff them together, and that would be Bruce's bed. So we both got a bed each, and we got as long as the midgets slept on it in the chairs, and it worked for us for like a year straight. It was like perfect, professional courtesy at its finest.
and I mean, there's also those drunken times in the hotel room when you've got Bruce and you're like, I wonder if I could do this to somebody. And you're gonna practice it on somebody, and who are you gonna practice it on? You're gonna practice it on Bruce.
Bro, Bro, do you remember that time I was doing those naked moonsaults in a hotel room and it was on Juggernaut's credit card?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I wouldn't give the fans the moonsaults, but I'd do it for the boys in hotel rooms.
And that's what I'm talking about, man. Like it's stuff like that. It's like I don't remember what bar it was we were at one time, what city, and Star was talking to a bunch of fans outside afterwards, and we're all trying to leave, and I'm like, he's trying to be all cool as shit, and I'm like, fuck this guy right now, and just walked up and pantsed him right there in front of everybody. And you know what? To his credit, he just kept on talking. Just kept on talking. No
That's all
problem.
you can do. Just go along with the rib.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And that's half the fucking fun of wrestling.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so much fucking good stuff. Who are you working for now? Because you're doing this comeback, obviously, right?
Yeah.
You're rejuvenated, right? How's that going for you?
You know what? I've been pacing myself, right? Because I've been trying to, I'm trying to work on everything. Make sure I'm getting enough exercise in. I'm keeping my mental health in check. Getting a lot of sleep. Oh, like the thing is, I don't know if you're aware of this, right? But I have like a really high IQ, so like I'm really well versed in psychology and like medical stuff.
Okay.
So I went back and looked at all the research on the CTE, because it's a worry for all of us, right? And the lead research, the department ahead at Boston University, they're the guys that got the NFL funding.
Yep.
He's actually, like, there was a video of him on the internet saying he's basically, they're not quite sure why, but they can fully reverse it or dramatically slow it down. And it's all through, eating right, sleeping lots, socializing with your friends properly, and exercising. And that's it. That's just like the four key cornerstones of being like a functional human being. So it's just like it's a byproduct of us just not taking care of ourselves over the course of our lifetime,
Sure.
Yeah, just
which makes sense because as well as I do, the easiest thing for us to do as wrestlers is to lock ourselves away. You know what I mean? And be alone in a dark place and probably loaded and let your brain get the most of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and then as you get older too, you're not hanging out with your buddies as much, and you're not, might not be getting as many bookings that you're getting, and that's what happens to all the, the old guys when they retire, man. It's like they got nothing really to fall back on, and their whole social structure kind of just goes and collapses on them.
Well, that's why I built rings.
Yeah.
I started building rings, and then I've got a couple of companies that rent out my rings, from me and stuff, and
Yeah.
it keeps me going. Like, for example, just this past weekend, I had the opportunity to go, and Rock Solid Wrestling was running shows, so I go work those shows, and I get to hang out with guys that I haven't seen in a long time, like Showtime Eric Young, you know what I mean, Crazy Steve, Cody Deaner, all on the show. It's been fantastic, right? And I'll see them all again next week as well
Yeah.
for EO show, another company in Niagara Falls, and we're doing the same thing all over again. So I get it though, right? There's those times, and here's the thing, and as well as I do, that when you first walked away from the business, you know what I mean? That first
Yeah.
time you came back, you were like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm not coming back. Right. And you felt good about that decision.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah,
Yeah.
I fucking feel great about this decision. And then as time goes along, you're like, keep peeking around the corner. Oh, how's wrestling doing? What's going on over there in wrestling? And then eventually you just find yourself right fucking back in it again.
Bro, I had it different.
Okay.
I legit I was done because the tours were costing me too much money. The van was breaking down all the time, and the problem is I'm the fun guy. So Star and all the whoever got stuck last would always want me there to make sure the rest of the road trip where we're stranded for 2-3 days is like fun, right?
Right.
So I was never coming home with money. So I just legitimately said this, so what happened was I started trying to work for All Star Wrestling when it was like with WrestlePlex.
Okay. Yeah.
And basically, Star and Republic said, everybody's more than welcome to work for either dressing room. It's just we can't guarantee any angles. So I thought, okay, well, this is fine. I don't really need any angles. I don't want to go to town and wrestle for them at the point because I'm just losing money. And it's just like I'll just take whatever matches I can get between the two promotions, just stay in town and be happy about it. So that got me debooked. I got told, but I was like unofficially fired.
Right.
So I just said, fuck it. I'm done. No more. I'm just done. I'm not going to wrestle anymore. And I quit. And, I had a problem at All Star too. Like I showed up for a booking and then I was booked 3 months earlier. And then like, for some reason, nobody knew about the booking when I got to the building. So that soured me completely and I was just done. And I was like, I'm staying away. And then like over the course of 6 months, it's like, all the offices that were here. There was a third office. I can't remember who it was, but everybody was basically. Oh, I think it was the boys that started something. It was oh, I forget. It was like It was like New Attitude Wrestling or something. Anyways, it was like a co-op thing. Everybody put $200 in or something like that, and they were running shows. So what happened was I ended up getting pulled in to fill in for somebody on the main event in all three promotions over the course of 6 months. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm working the main events even though I'm retired, so I might as well just come back. And that's what got me back.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And how's it been? You feeling good?
Yeah. Like this last time I came back, I had a 4-year layoff, but I was working for All Star when Star owned it in Cloverdale, and I was getting garbage angles and so I just honestly, I said to Star, I said, bro, if you can't give me like a good angle, I said, I'd rather just sit at home and give some of the greenhorns a shot to work on the shows. I need the matches for, skill at this point. I'm just having fun. If I can't have fun and work the crowd properly, I'd rather sit at home. So I intentionally took some time off with the intention of just, getting in shape and coming back. And, at this point I was fired from ECCW for a few years. And, I basically got nailed with COVID after that. Nobody could wrestle, so it's like I had a 4-year layoff unintentionally. But then as soon as the show started opening up, I was starting to get the itch, and I was planning on getting in the gym and start training again. And I lost all this weight, and I was down to like 185 pounds. And then what the hard thing is? Promoters started calling me. And I don't know what happened, but first Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling calls me and they're in a panic. They got 24 hours to figure it out. Tommy Dreamer was supposed to be in a 3-way hardcore match in their main event. And like Tommy Dreamer thought he was exposed to COVID. So he pulled himself off the show for safety reasons. And I said, okay, guys, I'm going to figure it out. I'll be there. And I, got my butt over on the ferry over to Vancouver Island and like, I filled in. Just hadn't worked a match in 4 years, undersized at 185, and it's like I just came out like I've been working matches the whole time. you know, and then yeah, so it's like I was over, and like the fans kind of left. The fans actually were happy that I was on the show. Like a lot of the old fans that were there said they actually know they experienced a better match having me on the show than having Tommy Dreamer on there. And then you know that kind of lit the fire back under my butt.
Is that for Osborne?
No, BJ Laredo and Cremator.
Right.
Yeah, and Rhea Von Slasher was bar owner at the time. She's kind of taking a leave of absence, kind of working on her own career right now. But yeah, so I was doing that, and then I got in September a few years ago. I got a call from Wild Rose. They were starting up, and they were going to run the Pavilion building in Calgary. And I still hadn't really got myself in the gym yet. I think I had like maybe a workout a week. And I was just kind of like, oh my God, now I got an opportunity to work the Pavilion building. You know, I was like, I can't turn this down. So kind of selfishly took the booking, which honestly, I should have turned it down, but I selfishly took it because I wanted to say I've worked it, right? And it was a double shot to crown all the champions. Like, and then I'm just going like, okay, I obviously guys are going to be flipping me around now because I've lost weight. I'm not almost 400 pounds anymore. I can just, hide behind my power bombs. Right. So yeah, so it's just been starting to build up. And then I started, working for VIPW on the island, semi-freelance. I helped them last summer kind of with a bunch of their fair shows. I just wanted to make sure the fairs that they had for the first time got a really good show so that they would keep getting repeat bookings. Yeah, so I've been pretty much going to work for them twice a month. And then Canadian Apex Wrestling in Vancouver opened up, and they've been running the Hastings Race Course, and they're starting to do shows in like Port Moody. So I've been doing shows for them. I do random matches for All Star Wrestling. But now I'm kind of pushing. I'm reaching out to Alberta and that. And I'm honestly gonna start taking bookings across Canada. Because I kind of let myself down. I had some bad experiences with promoters. Over the years, and even wrestlers, man. It's like the thing is, all my life I've been getting bullied, right? So the thing is, the one thing I noticed in the dressing room is when you kind of got some talent, some of the eyes are just focusing on you because they're honestly just jealous.
Right.
So I've been even being tough, I'm kind of getting bullied off by the side. Like kind of doing content. They're just kind of being rude to me here and there, and they don't think I'm noticing, right? But I just don't know where I was going with that story, to be honest. I smoked a joint earlier.
And that, my friends, is the best answer you can have.
Yeah. Yeah, that one kind of went wet.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, but so like I'm pretty much trying to get. I kind of gave up on myself early on. I just decided to be a local legend, right?
Right.
And I had tours overseas booked, and they kind of fell apart on me. And guys, promoters were kind of telling the guys that were trying to book me that I wasn't available, even though I was. And it left a sour taste in my mouth. And plus, I knew kind of what Vince McMahon was all about, and I just really never had an interest going to work for the WWE. It was my childhood dream. And then when I got into the business, I knew what it was all about. And I was like, I don't ever really want to work for those guys.
Yeah. Well, I kind of said the same thing at one point. You know what I mean? It was like everybody, when you get into wrestling, go, holy fuck, I want to work WrestleMania. I want to be in WrestleMania. I want to work for the WWE. And then you kind of find out and you have to reassess. For me, it was when I first broke my neck, the first time, that injury, and you reassess where you are and you realize, wait a second, this is a much bigger world because now I'm exposed to this world. It's a much bigger world than you might think. I don't have to pigeonhole myself and work for this one company. That'd be great if it happens, but I don't have to because there's still so much left that I can do inside of the business of professional wrestling, right? So good for you. Have you set up any dates across Canada yet, or are we going to petition?
I'm kind of in the talks of things. I got a lot of business I got to deal with right now because I actually just quit my job. I kind of realized that like working for other people doesn't work for me.
Okay.
So most of my life I was like an independent contractor, and I just kind of hustled, made money here, they were doing this and that. And then I had an opportunity to take a tech job downtown. So I had my own, like in the Bentall buildings downtown Vancouver, I had like my own parking spot, and I had a shared office on the 17th floor, So I was like, doing the corporate thing for a while. Because guys like me, like we're rare, like a neurodivergent, high IQs. Like, I taught myself to be a programmer, was drinking like a fish hanging out in nightclubs.
Right.
So, it's kind of like, it's like I'm built to be a tech guy, right? So I just kind of been doing that for like the past, I don't know, 20 years. And it's just everything time. It's the same thing. It's like, I kind of end up getting micromanaged a little bit, and I don't like being micromanaged. So it kind of burns me out, it kind of triggers my autism stuff. And then, it's like if I start having to kind of, I hate to say it, I almost have to party hard. Go balls to the wall when I'm outside of work to kind of keep myself level to make it into work. So like, one job I had, I ended up taking a bouncing gig at nighttime, just hanging out in the bars 4 days a week, so I wasn't getting enough sleep. Right. So I kind of get sick because I got to do all this extra stuff to be okay to make it to work, but it doesn't make me okay. Right. So I'm focusing on getting some business stuff structured in. I'm contacting all the promotions now, and I've been reaching out, but I'm going to go for it because like to be honest, man, I've been watching a lot of the shit on the TV, and not saying anything bad about the workers themselves. They look phenomenal. They got tons of talent, but it's just like there's just something missing in most of them. It's just like they just don't really understand psychology. And like, I mean, I'm not going to say his name, but like when I see some dude with a blowtorch, like trying to burn another guy on fire, like how is a fan going to connect to that? Like, I don't know if I've known any fans ever been like, Moondog, this weekend, guess what happened to me? My friend lit me on fire with the blowtorch. Yeah. Right? Nobody's going to do that. But that kid's been raked in the eyes before. He's been poked in the eyes. He's been scratched. He knows what it feels like, right? But blowtorch, like, yeah. So I'm kind of setting my targets high. Like, I'm planning on resetting the business. And
here's the thing. Like, I understand, like, the idea of tables. You have tables at a show. I understand the idea of chairs because you have chairs at a show. If you bring a barbed wire bat to a show, no problem.
Yeah.
Why do you, first of all, own a fucking flamethrower?
Yeah.
It wasn't just hanging out in the back. It wasn't like, hey, look what's hanging out in catering. It's fucking, Matt Hardy. And, is that a flamethrower? Let's just use that. See, it's silly. It's silly stuff like that, and it's not necessary because as well as I do. For the longest time, the reason that you would take your kids and you go do this pro wrestling show is to maybe your kid has a problem. Maybe your kid doesn't relate with other kids that well.
Yeah,
it's up to the wrestlers putting on that show on a local level, on whatever level it is, to say, hey, it's okay to be you. Yeah. I was like that, and look where I am now, and now you're looking at me like I'm your hero, and I'm okay with that. Let's get you ready for that, right? You're never going to get ready for that with like, hanging somebody from their feet, from the rafters on a show where Martha Hart was at the show. Like, what are we doing here, people? Or for the sake of what, a TV show?
Yeah.
Sometimes wrestling is beyond what the TV show actually is.
What's funny that you kind of mentioned, the fans looking up to us and that. So something happened when I was first breaking in. I got some advice from Roddy Piper.
Okay.
And it was probably the best advice I ever got. He says, listen, kid, when you go out in that ring, just be yourself. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea at the time, but, I was autistic, ADHD. So, I'm like crazy and like low impulse control. And, I got a high IQ. So like I got lots of processing time out there. And it's just, like the thing is, like basically what people have been seeing is they've been seeing a guy get in the ring and just letting loose. And the fans have been connecting with it for years. And, like a lot of the guys that, do all the high flying stuff and put, all the spot monkeys, they kind of don't like me so much. Not the new guys. The new guys actually like me because I've been bonding with them really good. But a lot of the older guys that were doing it, they don't like me so much because they bust their ass off. And then I will do something silly like go into the concession stand and steal a chocolate bar and get more heat than their whole match did. Right. And it's just, it's because I'm just crazy, being myself, and working the fans.
You ever have anybody try to heat you out in the locker room because of that? Did it ever get physical with anybody?
I grabbed somebody by the throat one time. I don't want to say his name, embarrass him, but it's like he kept calling me by my real name all the time, and it was always in like a tone that I knew he was kind of doing it on purpose. And it was him and the other guy they were hanging out with. But I kind of had enough. Like one night, like I actually talked to him politely because the thing is I don't like conflict. My grandfather fought in the First World War, and he's from Northern Ireland, so they're like just all he ever experienced was like religious violence and war. So he was in the First World War, and he got displaced during the Second World War, came to Canada. But he told me, he says, he asked me if I knew what a pacifist was, and I said no. And then he told me what a pacifist was, and then he told me, but what I want you to make sure you always do is if somebody tries to fight you, always defend yourself. So my whole life I've been dealing with bullies. So it's like I know what bullying is. Like I knew I was getting bullied by the guy, and I just said, "Listen, man, I know you keep calling me by my name, and it's just I wonder why you're doing it." Oh, I like it, man. I like it. It's okay, man. I don't really appreciate it though. Everybody calls me Moondog. Like even my old lady calls me Moondog. You should probably just keep calling me Moondog from now on. I thought it was all settled in that, right? But fast forward to a show. It was like a Halloween hell show. It would have been like a Moondog Manson Invitational Hardcore Weapons type match, right? And it was a big show, about 600 people there, and they had at the Cloverdale Fairgrounds. They had Ed Leslie was on the show, and the thing is, Ed Leslie wasn't getting along with any of the boys. He's an old guy, and most of the guys are just marks. And they don't. They're looking at him to kind of come across the room, shake hands. I don't know what they were expecting, but anyways, I'm sitting next to Ed, and he's changing, and I'm going through my bag, and like I don't know why I kind of stopped drinking, but like for some reason I found a bottle of Crown in my bag and had like 6-ish shots in it, and I'm looking, Ed's there, and I'm thinking, look, just maybe it'll help the brother out. So I went in my bag and go ahead, man, you want a drink? So him and I started sharing the bottle, like respectful, been being respectful of the veteran, right?
Sure.
And right away he opened up to me. But then the guy that was calling me by my real name, he turns around and he sees me with the bottle of Crown in my hand. He goes, "Oh, old Murray's back." And I got up and I just walked over and I just grabbed him by the throat and I told him, "Stop fucking calling me by my real name."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he got up real fast and he wanted to fight me outside. And I'm just like, bro, like, what are you gonna do? You gonna go outside and get knocked down to the ground? Just sit fuck down.
Yeah. Here's a real simple solution to this. Don't get angry because I told you I didn't like something and then you kept doing it, so I called you on your bullshit.
Oh yeah.
You just stop doing the bullshit and then all of this ends. He wanted to go out and fight you because he was embarrassed at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I remember another time too. You ever remember Wrathchild?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So I love the guy, right? So, but it's kind of a funny story to tell now, but I pretty much got him blackballed for a while, so he had some heat with me. He kind of like so pretty much because a lot of guys don't like me, and they're like honestly, most of the guys were afraid to get in the ring with me back in the day. Which is funny because Honky Tonk Man worked me for 20 minutes in a hardcore match, chain match, and he hit me with my barbed wire bat, and he like loved me like a brother. So, but we'll tell that story some other time. So basically, Ratchild got into an issue, and he just stormed out of the building one night and quit the promotion in the middle of an angle with me, and it's like left me with nobody to work. And then he came back one time, and then I said I walked up to him, and I didn't put up with any shit back then. I just go, "Listen, man, I didn't really appreciate you walking out on the angle like that." He says, "So I'm okay with working right now, but don't ever let it happen again." And the guy rinsed and repeat and did it again.
What the
fuck? So I was booked on a show, I think, for Dirty Money on the island, and I was talking to a few guys, and like basically I said, "Listen, man, this guy's disrespectful, and he's not, he's just causing heat more than anything." I said we should probably tell Dirty Money that if he's on the show, we're not. So I got him blackballed off the show, right? And I'm okay with the guy now, but it was like something like that. But he tried to show up at the building one time. He had his tag team partner Kill Switch and that guy, I don't know what it was, Bone Cracker or something, Devin something. Anyways, Devin was I don't mind. I know he's passed on, but he was a pretty big piece of shit. He was a shit disturber, and he was in Ratchild's ear and Bone Cracker's ear, right? So he pretty much turned them against me. And they showed up at a ECCW show one time at the Bridgeview Hall, and I was working the main event against Dropkick Murphy, and it was you know what? It would have been a really phenomenal match, but they showed up and they were like walking around the dressing room like, yeah, stick around the show, watch the fireworks with Moondog after, right? So like I knew I had a fight coming, like a real fight, not
Yeah.
just, the main event, So what they don't know, man, I called my crew up, right? And next thing you know, a carload of 5 Vaginas like start rolling towards the building. And I'm just wrestling, drop kick the best I can, watching the front door, watching the dressing room door. And as soon as I see my boys walk through the front door, I took the match home. I, went out of the ring. I motioned for the guys to follow me out. We went outside, and the 6 of us confronted the 3 of them, and they got humbled real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was no reason for it. They
No.
created the problem. They
Totally.
created the situation, and you handled the situation like a fucking man.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing is I got bullied all my life, so I had no choice but to become a man. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, good for you, dude. I have enjoyed the shit out of this talk.
Yeah.
I think it's been far too long since we've, obviously it's been way too many years since we've sat down face to face and even had these conversations.
Yeah.
We need to do more of these more often because, listen, time is getting shorter and shorter for us old fuckers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's
absolutely.
let's
I got another 30 years in me, though. I don't know about you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, what is that?
I'm watching guys in their 70s with muscles. I don't know what's going on.
Are you fucking challenging me? Are you challenging me?
I'm challenging you. Yeah, I'm challenging you, brother. 30 years, brother. The final cage match of our careers.
Fuck, it can't look any worse than Flair's last match, let me tell you.
We got 30 years to think about it. If it looks bad like that, then we should probably just quit the business at that point because we're the shits.
Could you imagine how many times we would fucking change the finish between now and 30 fucking years from now?
Yeah. It's probably change it a few times in the ring too.
It's gonna be eye poke. That's the finish.
Yeah. It's gonna be the perfect eye poke though, man, because we'll have talked about it for 4 weeks.
1,000. Tremendous. All right. Manson, let me ask you this. Where can people follow you if they want to, send you your flowers or stalk you, maybe some dick pics, whatever it is that people send to people nowadays? Where are you going to be? When's your next wrestling events? Where can they get a hold of you? What's going on with Moondog Manson?
So that's tricky. I'm actually kind of working on some things. I'm not sure where my next VIPW booking is. I'm kind of working on some things. Because I had to quit my income stream, right? So I got a lot of stuff to think about, so I don't have specific dates in the moment, but if they want to kind of keep up with me, they can find me on Instagram at, my handle on there is Moondog604. And then if they're on Facebook, I have a Facebook page, Moondog Manson, but, my personal page on Facebook is under Maurice Manson. So you hit me up there and keep in touch. I do have my own website, moondogmanson.com, but I haven't updated that since 20 plus years ago.
Right.
And I'm thinking about finally doing it. It's been one of those projects I just keep putting off on the back burner, but now I got no reason not to do it.
Dude, remember when we all had websites?
Yeah.
All of us had websites. I can remember one time I had ordered up I had these shirts. I tell this story. I had these shirts that said, on the front of them said, "What's a work?" You remember those shirts?
Yeah.
I had the work, fake ones. And I went to this place and they printed up like 200 shirts for me because I was fucking selling shirts. I was a promo homo, just selling all the merch in the world. It's great. But on the back, I had the website, right?
Yeah.
www.notorioustid.com. And they went and they misfucking spelled it. They forgot one of the letters in Notorious. They had it like Notorious. They forgot the U in Notorious, TID.com. So they were like, what are we going to do with these shirts? I'm like, well, first of all, you're not going to fucking charge me for the shirts, but I'm going to take these 200 shirts for free now. And then I think I spent like the $19.99 or whatever. And I just bought that website and had it redirected to mine. It was perfect. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, the funny thing about the .coms, right? I can't take credit because I'm not 100% sure, but it was either me or Chris Hero had the first .com for any pro wrestler.
Really?
Yeah. So the domain I can't find out online, but I know he was doing the wife beater and the chrishero.com flipping back and forth, and I had the moondogmanson.com. So, but they were both like the best websites out there because everybody else was on GeoCities, and I was starting to learn how to code websites, so I built my own website, and I don't know what he did. I know he hired somebody, he did it himself, but Yeah, so like back then, like you remember the links pages were like the most important part of your website, right? That's how other fans found other wrestlers and shit,
Yeah,
and they find
absolutely.
you. So like yeah, like me and Chris Hero were like link exchange buddies.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. You know who built my very first website for me?
Who?
NXT referee Adrian Butler.
Wow.
He
Yeah.
wrestled as Hornet, right? And
Yeah.
when he started, I broke him in. He was like one of my very first students ever. He was a 15-year-old kid, and he was like, "Hey, how can I get in the business? I know how to build websites." So he built a website for myself and like the Hollywood Hunks and stuff like that. And then I would take him down and take him to the gym, and we would train, and he learned how to become a professional wrestler. And now he's a fucking WWE NXT. He's like the head NXT referee. He's like, got talent relations. Like he's doing very, very well for himself. But that
Yeah.
right there is a testament of a kid who was like, I'm going to have a career in professional wrestling.
Well, he was smart too, and he got under your wing, right? Under your wing of influence, right? And that's why he's a phenomenal. He did so well in the business, right? Same thing with El Phantasmo. He lived with me, so I got to my behavior that rubbed off on him, right?
Yeah.
Like I just hung out with him the other night, and I hadn't seen him in ages, and it was like totally. He's telling me the way things are going over in Japan and that, and I'm just giggling because you sound just like me, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Is he bitter yet?
No. But I'm thinking about because I'm brainstorming ideas because I'm doing something big.
Okay.
I don't know if I should say too much of it, but part of it is I think I might start promoting shows because I do have prowrestlingcanada.com still.
Yep.
So I might start promoting shows again. I'm kind of working with this very sweet woman. I'm not sure I'm going to let the cat out of the bag on that one, but I'm working on bringing a manager in for myself, and I got the gimmick all figured out, and I'm just kind of working on the details. But we're gonna probably announce that pretty soon. But yeah, so like I might probably get into promoting, do my own shows, and trying to see if I can help the communities like all across Canada because that's my main focus. Like I kind of always admire guys like Elon Musk. Like even though he kind of jokes around a little bit too much on the internet, at the end of the day, he's kind of changed the world for the better, right? And like that's the thing is I wouldn't mind taking my career and just using it just to keep better in the communities, entertaining the fans, keeping kids out of trouble. And I think I can do that with this girl that I'm working with right now. And I'm pretty sure we can change like our communities around for the better in Canada and like have a much better environment for the children to grow up in.
That is the most anti-hardcore Moondog Manson thing I've ever heard in my life. Good for you, brother.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Thanks, bro. It's because I'm the biggest bully there is, so I can bully all the bullies to keep the kids safe.
That's amazing.
I just smile while I'm bullying them, so it doesn't look like I'm bullying them, and the kids just eat it right up.
I love it. I fucking love it. And I love you, man. You are a fantastic
you, bro. Yeah.
And I can't wait till we can do this again. For those of you, please go check him out. Talk to your local promoters. Get this guy into your town all the way across the entire world. Fuck it. If he's going to make a run at it, I'm going to back this run 100%. He deserves to be seen out there. You're going to have a hell of a time. It's going to be a hell of a show, and you're going to have a hell of a fucking time. So please do so. Moondog Manson, it's always a pleasure, brother.
Awesome, brother.
We will do this again very, very soon. For the rest of you, stick right there.
We could probably do this weekly, eh?
Brother, you can come on the show anytime you want. Even if you want to just come out and hang out on like the law part of the show instead of like a specific segment, just to shoot the shit about the wrestling stuff that we see on TV nowadays, because that's what we do. That's what we do. Just have a great time. It is an open door policy for you anytime. And this time we won't do the spot where I chase you around the ring at the training facility and you go to slide in and your fucking pants fall off.
Yeah.
We won't do that one.
Well, we could probably try it. We might be able to get it over still.
Tremendous. Everybody stick right there. We'll be right back after this.